Hello, my name is Mark Schottler from Schottler & Associates, and today's question is, with all the myths and rumors surrounding personal bankruptcy, how do I know what's true? There is a ton of misinformation out there on the internet. It can also come from friends, from family, from coworkers, and most people researching personal bankruptcy don't know what to believe. In my 20 years of experience as a bankruptcy lawyer, I have run across hundreds of rumors and untruths about what bankruptcy can do for you and what it cannot do for you. What I'm going to try to do today is touch on a few of the more prevalent and common rumors and sort of give you the truth behind those. The first of those is that bankruptcy permanently ruins your credit or you cannot get credit after bankruptcy. This is untrue. I have a lot of clients who will get credit card applications in the mail as soon as they file. Now, we often tell them, don't accept those, be careful of the interest rate, and you have just eliminated a lot of debt. Be very careful. Getting credit post-bankruptcy is not as difficult as you might think. Many people will see their credit score go up rather than go down. This is due to credit scoring. Your credit score is determined from a ton of different factors, but the two largest ones are outstanding debt and history. Now, you're going to get a negative impact on your credit history for filing for bankruptcy. Everyone does. However, the outstanding debt portion is where you will see some gains. With all your outstanding debt being eliminated, your credit score goes up. In addition, new lenders know that you do not have any other debt to pay in front of them. Finally, you can't file again with Chapter 7 for 8 years and Chapter 13, generally 4 years. They know they can come after you in that time period if you're unable to pay the debts back. What this all adds up to is that getting credit post-bankruptcy is not that difficult. We have clients who get credit cards, car loans, boats, even houses post-bankruptcy. That's not the issue. The question and the thing you need to look out for the most is, what's my interest rate? That's the number one area that you've got to be aware of when you are looking for credit post-bankruptcy. A second rumor is that, and sort of related to this one, is that bankruptcy will ruin my spouse's credit. This is not true either. Spouse does not have to file with you in bankruptcy. They can if they want to, and sometimes it makes good sense to do so. It all depends on if you hold the debt jointly or not. But the non-filing spouse's credit is not ruined. In fact, even if you have some joint debt and the other spouse doesn't file, it cannot be listed on their credit report that they filed for bankruptcy. The way it must be shown is that they are still liable for the debt and that bankruptcy was filed on the account by another party. These are things that sometimes show up on credit reports but can easily be corrected, and sometimes the offending party can even be subject to lawsuit for doing so. Another prevalent myth that I see going through bankruptcy is that it represents failure for the individual who files. As a bankruptcy lawyer, I can tell you this is absolutely untrue. We have had so many folks from all walks of life file bankruptcy with us. Different income levels, rich, poor, you name it. People suffer bad things in their lives. You run into divorce, injury, loss of job, illness. All of these things cause bankruptcy, not bad decisions. It's usually from things that happen to you that are out of your control. They're always hearing in the news about bankruptcy fraud, which is really in about 1% of all cases. 99% of the time, folks who file for bankruptcy have been drastically affected by outside factors. And this is why they do it. Because something happens to you that's out of your control doesn't make you a failure. Another thing I say when I hear this rumor is that bankruptcy is a federal law designed for your protection. It's there for you. It's designed to level the playing field between us and the very large lending institutions, the banks. They have all the power when lending the money, and bankruptcy is sort of the average person's way to protect themselves against that power if it gets to be too much. When you take these factors into consideration, it's really hard for me to understand why this rumor persists. Bankruptcy doesn't represent failure. To me, it represents a new start. Kind of along these same lines, another myth that comes up is that you can lose your job due to bankruptcy filing. This, again, very untrue. People are often worried about it. Everybody asks me about it, and it's untrue. In 20 years, I have never once had a client in the thousands of people I've helped lose a job due to a bankruptcy filing. In fact, right in the bankruptcy law, there is a section, Section 525 of the United States Code, Chapter 11, Title 11, I should say, that an employer is forbidden from taking action against you for filing bankruptcy. So this is one you can easily put to rest. It never happens, and it is actually forbidden under the law. Bankruptcy rumors that also are out there and sort of swirling around are that you have to be behind on your bills, or that there's a minimum amount of debt you must have. Again, not true. You don't have to be behind. Sometimes folks are out there just making minimum payments month after month after month, sort of being unable to eat or get medical care or do these sort of things because they're paying credit card bills. You don't have to be behind to file. Most of the folks who file with us aren't behind. The bills have just sort of overwhelmed them and they can't go forward. The same is with the minimum amount of debt. You could actually file bankruptcy on a $1 if you wanted to, but that's, generally not recommended. The way I look at it and the way I do the calculation is this. Bankruptcy is going to cost you in legal fees and court fees and some other costs. Those costs should represent a very small portion of the total amount of your debt. I like to say that based on what it costs to file bankruptcy, you should probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of $8,000 to $10,000 in debt or more. That's a general rule of thumb. It's not hard and fast. I've had clients file on debt as low as $2,000 to $3,000, but $8,000 to $10,000 is a good minimum. Finally, one last rumor that I would like to touch on, and that sort of stays out there, is that bankruptcy gets rid of all of your debt. This is not true. Bankruptcy will get rid of most of your debt and probably get rid of all the debts that are affecting you the greatest. However, certain things are not going to be eliminated. One of these is child support and other domestic support obligations. Clearly, as a matter of public policy, we want child support to be paid, and so that's not going to be dischargeable in bankruptcy. Another one, unfortunately, is student loans. Student loans occupy a special place in bankruptcy, and they get to be exempted from discharge. This is most likely because student loans are primarily backed by the federal government, but new laws are coming out all the time, and we're hoping that a law will be enacted to allow bankruptcy to deal with student loans. But for now, they do not go away. Finally, I would say that sometimes people ask me, well, I know I can keep my home and car in bankruptcy, but I can't, do I have to keep the debt that goes along with it? And yes, you do, especially in Chapter 7. When you file Chapter 7 and eliminate your debt, if you're keeping your home, you're keeping the mortgage. If you're keeping your car, you're keeping the auto loan. Now, you can walk away from those debts, but you also walk away from the home or car. It's sort of a decision you have to make at the time you file, and we go through that with our clients and show them what options are best. In the end, most people keep those items, but you must realize that you have to continue to make your payments. Hope this answers questions about some of the greater myths that are out there about bankruptcy. As always, please feel free to call me, and I'll set you up with a free, confidential 30-minute consultation to discuss your situation.